us all in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Morris Area Schools, FFA, Student Council, and the University of Minnesota Morris, we welcome you to our Veterans Day program.
To begin our program, we would like to welcome Superintendent Shane Munson.
Good afternoon. I am Shane Munson, the proud superintendent of Morris Area Schools. On behalf of Morris Area Schools, I want to welcome all of you to Tiger Center and our program today. This program is for our honored guests, our military veterans, active or retired. Let's begin this program by starting to honor them right now by giving our veterans a standing ovation and a round of applause. To the veterans gathered here today, retired or active, thank you for your service and sacrifice to the United States of America.
Thank you, Superintendent Munson, for promoting patriotism in our school district.
Please welcome the Monoman singers who are joining us from White Earth Nation to offer an honor song to thank all of our veterans for their service. Thank you for that wonderful performance and for sharing your talents with us today.
It is our pleasure to invite Brian Herman, Vice Chancellor of Finance and Faculties at the University of Minnesota Morris, to the stage.
Thank you to all who have planned this day and for allowing me to say a few words on behalf of Chancellor Erickson and the faculty, staff, and students at the University of Minnesota Morris. I encourage each of you to pause and reflect with gratitude on the sacrifices made by the courageous individuals within our communities, including our campus community, who have honorably served their country in the United States Armed Forces. We are grateful for the sacrifices all veterans have made that allow us to live in a country that gives people the freedom to pursue education and make a better life for themselves and their families. The skills and experiences acquired during military service enrich our community immeasurably. Veterans Day provides a valuable moment to reflect on the importance of service in our own lives and how each of us can improve our communities and our nation. I'm proud to be part of this community focused on community service. There are, of course, many ways to serve, and each act of service leads not just to a better community, but a life well lived. So today, as our nation commemorates Veterans Day, I'm honored to join you in celebrating and remembering those who have served in uniform. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Herman. We are very fortunate that the University of Minnesota and the Morris School District can work together to support our veterans.
Please enjoy this musical number as they are presented by our high school students and directed by John Kleinwalterink. Thank you for sharing your time and talents to show pride in our country. At this time, please welcome Mayor Kevin Wallers, who will share a few words with our community and our veterans.
Good afternoon, and welcome again to this Veterans Day celebration. For those of you who don't know me, I am Mayor Kevin Wallers. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this special holiday, where we honor military veterans across the United States. As a veteran myself, I salute my fellow veterans and say thank you for your service to our country. Armistice Day, later known as Remembrance Day in the United States, is commemorated every year on 11 November to mark the armistice, which was an agreement made by opposing sides in a war to stop fighting for a certain time, a truce. The original Armistice Day was observed on November 11th, 1919, 1 year after the armistice that ended World War I, signed between the Allies of World War I and Germany at Compiègne, France, at 5:45 a.m. for the cessation of hostilities on the Western Front of World War I, which took effect at 11 o'clock a.m. Hence, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Just wanted to share with you a few interesting facts about Armistice Day. Fighting continued up until 11 a.m. on November 1918, with 2,728 men dying on the last day of the war. The signing of the armistice at Compiègne, France, took place 37 miles from Paris in a railway carriage. The location was remote and chosen because it would be discreet. The railway car belonged to Ferdinand Foch. He was a general and former chief of staff of the French Army. That same railway car was used in 1940 when Hitler surrendered at the end of World War II. The terms of the armistice also forced Germany to pay for the damages it caused. The debt of approximately $35 billion was only paid off in 2010. In the United States, Armistice Day became a national holiday in 1926. Again, I would like to thank the veterans present, the members of the American Legion Auxiliary, the Morris Area Schools, and other service organizations, and last but certainly not least, the spouses of retired or deceased veterans gathered here today. Let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Wallers, for those kind words. Next, we would like to present our Veterans Day essay winners from the 6th and 9th grade. Each student will be reading their winning piece. Please welcome 6th grader Brooklyn Ingman and 9th grader Wesley Odello.
Veterans Day is an important day to honor all the men and women who have served in the military. These brave people worked hard and risked their lives to protect us and our freedom. Because of them, we can live safely and have rights we enjoy every day. Veterans had to leave their homes and families to go places far away and sometimes dangerous places. They show love to their country, and we should always be thankful for what they have done. If I could thank a veteran, I would tell them how much I appreciate everything they went through for us. I would thank them for being brave and giving up so much stuff for others to be safe. They had to eat what they were given, and they had to sleep where they could and face hard times during their service. I could show respect by standing up for the Pledge of Allegiance and by thanking veterans when I see them. Saying thank you for your service might seem small, but it shows kindness and lets them know we care. Veterans Day reminds us that freedom doesn't just happen, it takes people willing to fight for it. Veterans are real-life heroes who deserve our respect every single day, not just November 11th. We can honor them by being good citizens, helping others, and showing pride in our country. We can also learn from their bravery, and remember to never take our freedom for granted because it came with great sacrifice. It's important to remember that because of veterans, we have chances to live freely and chase our dreams. So on Veterans Day and every day, we should stop and say thank you to all the veterans who made sacrifices for our country. They will always be heroes in our hearts.
When it comes to talking about veterans, it's difficult to truly think of anything other than thank you. Veterans have done so much for our country, allowing every one of us to live the lives we are living today. They fought for freedom and risked their lives so that we all might have a home and freedom. They put their lives on the line so that we could continue to live our lives and have our freedom. I find it inspiring how much courage and fearlessness they must have to do that. Since they risked their lives and put everything they had on hold for our rights and freedoms, we can have our freedoms and use them to the fullest. They truly have done so much for this country that they deserve all of our thanks that we have to give. Veterans are truly an inspiration to all of us, and for good reason too. They sacrifice so much that you can't help but look up to them. Every day, they would go out of their way to protect our freedoms and help save our country. Without them, our lives would look much different from the way they look today. Veterans themselves can mean different things to everyone, however. To some people, veterans are a symbol of hope and how, even after tough hardships, you can always keep going. To others, veterans are a symbol of strength. They braved harsh battles and harsh conditions to save our freedoms, which couldn't have been easy. To me, personally, they are a symbol of determination. They show the unrelenting determination and perseverance it takes to keep a country going strong. They show how, when everything seems hopeless and you want to quit, you can't. No matter how tough it is, you can't stop now. Thanks to their never-ending determination and perseverance, our country, as we know it, was able to have its freedoms and liberties protected and preserved. Veterans are a very important part of our country and its history. Throughout their lives, veterans have had to endure some of the most difficult challenges that life has to offer. They have had to fight through battles and go on missions that people like me only watch movies about. So many stories that we hear about in our history classes wouldn't have gone the way they did, or even be written at all, without our veterans. They've done so much for us that it's only right that we give them the credit they deserve by immortalizing their names through history and its stories. It's only right that we give them the certainty that they deserve, the certainty that their efforts will not be forgotten, the certainty that their stories of their heroics will be passed on and remembered for generations to come, the certainty that no matter what happens, no matter how much time goes by, or how much everything changes, we will always tell their stories and the tales of the glories of their battles, missions, and efforts. Throughout everything, veterans have been a sort of shining star in our communities. They understand the hardships that they have had to go through and understand what they fought for. They've already gone through the difficult times and struggles, and now they understand what rights they worked so hard to preserve. Thanks to this understanding, they can now finally take a break and enjoy the freedoms they've preserved for us. They deserve the best break ever for saving our freedoms, our lives, and our country. They deserve all of our thanks and all of our praises. Throughout their lives, they've endured so much unimaginable grief and pain that now that they're finally finished with it all, From the bottom of my heart, and everyone else's who have seen the result of what you've done for this country, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your amazing essays and your appreciation for our veterans. We appreciate the time Wanda Dagan, John Klein Walterink, the band, and the choir have spent preparing each musical piece. We now have a wonderful piece played by the Morris High School Band that honors each military branch. Veterans, when your military branch's song is played, please stand.
Army, please rise. Coast Guard, please rise. Marines, please rise. Air Force, please rise. Navy, please rise.
Thank you, Morris Area Band, honoring the veterans through your music. Please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Dennis Coleman, this afternoon.
Thank you. 1 week ago today, at about this time of day, I was in the recovery room at the hospital after several hours of complete knee replacement on my left knee. I was told at that time that I would not be physically able to be here today. I don't do real well with the word no. So here I are. Today's presentation is entitled Overcoming Adversity. Adversity is a terrible thing to waste. Yes, adversity is a terrible thing to waste. That will become self-evident as I speak. Today I'm telling you about a man named Charles Plum. He calls himself Charlie, so I will also. He was a fighter pilot in Vietnam. He was a captain. He flew 74 successful bombing missions over North Vietnam. He said if he would have had to do it again, he would have stopped at 74, because on flight number 75, he and his co-pilot were shot down, and they were immediately placed into a prison camp in North Vietnam. And that was only 5 days before his tour of Vietnam would have ended and he would have gone home. The prison cell that Charlie was in and became his home on May 19th, 1967, was 8 feet long and 8 feet wide. You could take 3 steps. My steps a little shorter today. He could take 3 steps in one direction before hitting a concrete wall, turn around, take 3 steps the other direction before hitting the concrete wall. Inside that prison cell, there were no windows. Charlie said there was a light in there, but it was controlled by the prison guards. And he said when it was off, it was so dark you could not distinguish the difference between red and green. He said, I want you to imagine that there was no X-Boy, no Game Boy, Xbox, whatever, because there was no television, no radio, no telephone, no books or magazines to read, not even a sheet of paper and a pencil. He said, I want you to imagine the stench coming from the 2-gallon bucket in this corner that served as my toilet. He said, I want you to imagine the rat hole in that corner over there that allowed daily encounters with rats, snakes, and insects. He said I had a daily taste of salt on my lips. Salt from the humidity and the heat of a jungle in a prison cell that was made out of cement and with a tin roof. So he said, the salt from that, from the sweat, he said, I want you to imagine the taste of salt on my lips from the open wounds on my body, from the continuous torture and the salty blood. And he said, the taste of salt on my lips from the tears that I shed frequently. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Charlie's home for 2,103 days. I'll do the short math. That's almost 6 years of adversity. There's that word, adversity. Several years later, Charlie was released, and one night he and his wife were in a restaurant in Kansas City, and he said, I noticed a man over in that corner was looking at me, staring at me. I didn't know who the man was. He said he kept staring at me, and he finally came over to me, and he pointed down accusingly at me, and he said, you're Plum. And he said, well, yes, sir, I am Plum. He said, you were stationed on the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. You flew 74 successful bombing missions. On 75th one, you and your pilot were shot down. You were one of those Top Gun guys, and you became a prisoner of war for almost 6 years. Charlie said, you're right, but tell me, how did you know all that? And the man said, because I packed your parachute. Charlie said, I was quite dumbstruck, didn't know what to say. He said, the man came up with just the right words. He said, he grabbed my hand, he started shaking my hand, he started pumping, and he said, I guess it worked. Charlie said, indeed it did. But he said, tell me, do you keep track of all the parachutes that you pack? And the man said, this might be the most important thing I'm going to share with you today. He said, no. It gives me enough gratitude just to know that I was able to help somebody out along life's rocky little road. So here's the question, gang. How's your parachute packing coming along? And who in this life is packing your parachute for you? Oh, I don't mean the silk type of parachutes. I'm talking about the parachute of life. The little hangnails, the little speed bumps, the little fender benders that we encounter on a day-to-day basis. I'm talking about doing something nice for someone, even if nobody says thank you. I'm talking about doing something nice for someone, even if nobody sees you do it. And I'm talking about doing something nice for someone just because you know it's the right thing to do. Charlie said, I thought about that parachute packing thing. He said, my parents packed my parachute for years, gave me a house to live in, clothes to wear, food to eat. Never one time, he said, did they ask for a thank you. But he said the biggest parachute packer in my life was my football coach, Coach Smith. He said Coach Smith was a World War I veteran, walked with a limp because he still had some shrapnel in his left leg. And he said Coach Smith was going to retire at the end of our football team, or football season. We wanted to win the last game for the coach, but he said we didn't. We were 1-7 and we lost the last game, so we were 1-8. As we were walking off the football field, Charlie said I walked next to Coach Smith going back to the locker room, and he said I looked up at him and I said, "I'm sorry, Coach. I guess we're just a bunch of losers." He said, Coach Smith put his arm around my sweaty shoulder and he said, "Son, rather you think this team was a bunch of winners, or rather you think this team was a bunch of losers, you're right. Rather you think you're a winner," he said, "or rather you think you're a loser, you're right. I didn't understand that." Charlie said the next day, I said, "Coach, what did you mean when you said, rather I think I'm a winner or rather I think I'm a loser? I'm right." He said, "Son, I don't want you to come back here in 2 to 4 years and tell me the reason you failed at high school or college was because of this little bitty school. I don't want you to come back here in 8 or 10 or 12 years from now and tell me the reason you failed at your job was because the teachers here weren't good enough. And I don't want you to come back here 18 or 20 years from now and tell me that the reason you failed at your marriage was because of this place right here, because, son, the difference between being a winner and being a loser is you. It's a choice." Charlie said after that day, I took everything he said to heart. I couldn't lose at anything. He said, in fact, I graduated at the top of my class of 2. He said the other fellow wasn't very bright. But he said, I took that to heart, and he said, I joined the Navy, and yes, he became a Top Gun contender. John McCain, who later became a presidential candidate, was actually the Top Gun instructor. So Charlie said, I was flying an F-4 Phantom jet, and he said, I went off to fight the war. And he said, the throttles for my aircraft were on the left side. If I pushed them all the way forward and kicked in the afterburners, I could achieve speeds of 1,400 miles an hour. He said, on my right were the toggle switches. He said, I could shoot down any enemy aircraft with the missiles on my plane. I could shoot down aircraft I couldn't even see. He said, I thought I was invincible. I figured for certain I was bulletproof. And then he said, on that fateful day, May 19, 1967, a surface-to-air missile caught the tail of my aircraft, exploding 12,000 pounds of jet fuel. And he said we started plummeting to the ground at 500 miles an hour. He said we were able to eject. And he said as we're floating down with enemy soldiers right beneath us, I saw that they were shooting at us. And he said, I thought the audacity of those guys. First they destroy my $4 million plane, and now they're shooting at us. He said, I found out I was not bulletproof. He received 2 wounds on his way down, but he said, I knew we were going to be immediately captured, but I said a prayer to God. I hoped all my parachutes had been packed properly, and I asked God to please make whatever was going to happen, make it worth something. They were immediately captured, and Charles was placed into that prison cell that I just explained to you a little bit ago. Communication was very important in that prisoner of war camp. and he found out that the individual in the cell next to him was Lieutenant Commander Schumacher, who had been there 2 years before Charlie got there, and they had a special way of communicating. Charlie said, I heard this cricket sound, and here it was a piece of wire coming through that rat hole, scratching against the cement. And he said at the end of that wire was a big note of toilet paper written in charcoal, and the note said, memorize this code and then eat this message. He said, I did. So they began to communicate by pounding on the walls, each pounding. Anyway, that's another story. So they started communicating, and Schumacher said, how you doing, buddy? Charlie said, I'm doing terrible, buddy. He said, this is the president's war. It's not my war. He needs to get over here. I want to go home. Schumacher said, sounds to me like you're suffering from a common disease that we see over here in the prison camp. And if you don't get your mind together and get on top of it, it could kill you. Charlie said, what's the name of this disease? Maybe I know something about it. Schumacher said, around here we call it prison thinking. Charlie said, prison thinking? Schumacher said, yes, you think you're a prisoner. Charlie said, what kind of a nut did they put me next to? He said, by this time I figured I had dwindled down to 115 pounds. He said, I had 4 open sores from torture. I had 27 boils on the front. I don't know how many on the back. And he said, my total real estate was a rag that I had tied around my waist to hide my nudity. And I said, and you say, I think I'm a prisoner? Schumacher says, yeah, sure sounds like it. He said, now you're going to start blaming everybody. You're going to blame the legislature for appropriating money to send you here. You're going to blame the aircraft mechanic for putting your plane together. You're going to blame everyone down the line until you blame your mother for giving you birth. But he said the problem with that is when you blame somebody else for your misfortune, you give them control of your life. Let me give you an example. You're driving down the road 60 miles an hour, minding your own business, having a great day. Somebody pulls out to pass you, there's traffic coming, so that individual cuts you off, you slam on the brakes, you pound on the steering wheel, you start shouting obscenities. You got all this cholesterol churning around inside of you, getting ready for the big heart attack, and the man who just passed you, driving down the road, doesn't even know your name. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, when you allow the words or the actions of someone else to affect you here, you just gave that person control of your life. Now, as for me, God and I will control my life. Thank you very much. So, 2.5 million soldiers served in Vietnam. Out of that 2.5 million soldiers, male and female, 30.6% of them came home or developed PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. That's almost 1/3. Knowing that, because of the fact that these prisoners of war had been given such a bad deal, the American government, the United States government, contacted every soldier who was a prisoner of war, contacted their family and said, your soldier, your loved one, may need to be institutionalized for the rest of their life because of the adversity that they had been placed under. Well, 592 prisoners of war in Vietnam. 4% came home with PTSD. How do you attribute that? Charlie said, we found out it wasn't the adversity that we were given inside that 8-foot walls. It was the adversity in the 8 inches between our ears that we had to deal with. And he said, among the prisoners of war, we had a code: return with pride. 4% came home with PTSD. Now, I personally have been dealt a great deal of adversity back when I wore a younger man's clothing. Now, you see, I could have walked around and said, oh, woe is me. Mama Coleman's poor little boy's got all these bad things happening to him. And I could have crawled over into a corner somewhere, and I could have laid there till I died. And I know I could do that because I've seen people do it. Oh, but wait now. I had another choice. I could pick up all the pieces of this giant jigsaw puzzle called life, and I could drive on. And that's what I chose to do. So, thank you for allowing me to be here today. Keep packing parachutes. Thank a veteran for their service. In the heart of a veteran, every day is Veterans Day. Every day. Thank them every day. Thank you.
Your words have provided encouragement and pride in our country. Thank you for your service. It has been an honor to MC this Veterans Day program. Thank you all for attending, and a special thanks to the veterans that have served and are continuing to serve our country. Please rise and remain standing until the recessional of the veterans is complete.